Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. Starting a little early according to my countdown, but the reality is I just started the countdown a little late. So here we are. I once again am the Magi, and unlike most other content creators right now who are all afluster about the new Lord of the Rings release, I am way more excited about our first look at the new player experience or starter decks for the upcoming 2024 season, and that is going to be our focus today. We are getting this preview, of course, through this week's midweek Magic event. And my plan is not to play with every single deck, more than likely, although it could happen. I am going to try and talk about every single deck, though. And my goal is to get one win with each deck that I play with. And if I end up with two losses without getting a win on the deck, I am just going to go ahead and move on to another deck, because there's only so many times you can watch a deck lose and it still be interesting. And hey, after all, this is content. And what do you say we jump in here and start taking a look at these decks? But before we get into all that, we here at the Stronghold are officially on the road to 1,000 subs. And guess what? When we get there, we're going to give away an account. So if you're part of the 2/3 of viewers that routinely watch my content but haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and get in, player, because we're going to be doing some magic. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. We will choose up here. And I am actually going to start at what I predicted to be the bottom of these decks. That, of course, being the ugly recommendations. And there definitely are some surprises here. And before we jump into the individual decks, once again, let me talk about the elephant in the room. That is the inclusion and very heavy-handed inclusion of Arena Alchemy cards here. I'm not sure if Wizards of the Coast and the folks at Arena are attempting to force new players to play Alchemy, but they are potentially doing so at the risk of alienating people that come to Arena from Paper Magic and want to play Standard or Explorer or something like that, because none of these decks are playable out of the box as they sit, because every single one of them contains at least one, and in most cases many, alchemy cards. In fact, really, as a brewer, I would be hard-pressed to rebuild most of these decks and make them for Standard and just eliminate the alchemy cards based on what is provided to a new player. Ultimately, I'm not sure what their reasoning is or what the final result will be, because of course this is a separate event. It's intended as a preview. This may not even be their intention for the final result. We might get very different, or at least significantly different decks in the final result. But for now, let's talk about what we do have right this minute. That is, I want to start with the Sylvan Wisdom, and I predicted this was going to be a blue-green ramp deck that, well, very often just doesn't ramp into anything meaningful. And I was wrong, absolutely wrong on that particular deck, as what we have here is, I think, the largest offender for the presence of alchemy cards. The majority of the deck here, not actually having counted, but just an impression flipping through here, is that most of these cards are not only from Alchemy, but the most recent Lord of the Rings set. So here we are talking about Lord of the Rings regardless. I think one of the biggest issues here is the amount of rares and mythics that we see in here that are Lord of the Rings based. And of course, this is all about the green-blue scry mechanic with a sub-theme of elves. I don't necessarily think it's a bad deck, but of course, as we've talked about, it's not a standard deck. But you know what? We're going to take this first spin and kind of see what it does. For me, this is a good opportunity to test this mechanic as a draft archetype and kind of see how strong it can be, because, well, if it's not strong as a constructed archetype, it's probably not going to be any better in limited. But let's submit this deck up and take it for a spin here. And let's see what we can do. That was pretty quick. I always like to see those quick pairings, particularly on a midweek Magic. You generally know it's a pretty popular version of the event when you do get those quick pairings. This is not a terrible opening hand. I mean, we've got a good 2, 3, and then 4 drop coming up. So I do think we're gonna keep here and play the Tangled Tempo land on turn 1. So let's keep here. We are on the draw, so typically that means we lose, right? Wow, that's an interesting 3-drop as well. Interesting. And right out the gate, we have an alchemy card from our opponent. And that's a big boy there. I think we take 3. And I'm going to spend a little time here doing some setup. We are not going to attack into that. And yeah, now we just have problems. So blue-green scry, obviously a little bit weak to a more aggressive strategy. Although typically I don't think of green-black rock as being very aggressive. I don't think we need the second bite down. Well, this is just not going well. I think this is going to be loss number 1. They are just stacked with the removal here. Think we gotta do some things here. We're still in a pretty tough spot, honestly. I'm not sure this is recoverable at all, but we are going to go ahead and play it out here because, of course, this is the point of these. Nice, great. So, yeah, we just lose here because if we give up a third creature, we're not going to win anyway. So that is loss number 1. And we will move on to game number 2 here. Sorry about the dead mic for a moment. I'm actually keeping notes on the matchups so I can get a feel for the win rates out there for various decks. Luckily, I have a strong YouTube community that is helping me out by sharing their results so we can get a larger pool on the overall results. Another potentially strong hand. I don't hate this going into a 2-3. I'm not entirely sure which of those I want as my 2-drop, but we have a moment to figure that out. We are once again going to lead off with the Tangle. Play those tempo lands when you don't have a 1-drop to worry about. That's interesting. So now I have 3 different... I think I'm going to go Lookout here. Unfortunately, that's a lot of options when you don't have any experience with the cards. Lovely. Just what I wanted to happen was a complete tempo shift. Awesome. One of the few cards in this sets that aren't Lord of the Rings, it seems. Just kidding. It's not so terrible here. Jump In, on the other hand, is very strongly shifted towards Lord of the Rings. Not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but it is definitely a thing. Our opponent pretty defensive at the moment. We're gonna draw some cards. Cool. I think just to be mana efficient, we go here, and I'll take the hit, and we'll press what board advantage we have. Okay. I was gonna say, wow, that's pretty crazy that they're gonna attack there. And what do we want to do here? Do we want to set up our board position a little bit more? Do they want to block here? Okay, they are. All right. And no combat trick. We just get to win for once. Let's see here. We will Arwen. All right. Resolve. I'm not sure what their point there was, but okay. They may have removal. They're looking at our stuff pretty hard here. And taking a long time in doing it, too. Okay. Another tempo. Unfortunately, I can't be quite as mana efficient as I really want to here. And I think we play our boy here. Alright, we've got a pretty solid board state here, honestly. And next turn we can get a little crazy. They are still not really chop blocking here. I guess they're just gonna hope for card selection to dig them out. And they might very well be right. Roscoe. Alright. All right, you got yourself a clock there, for sure. Indeed. Well, it's a tempo land. It's kind of a bummer. And let's see here. I think let's in. Oh no! Wait, I'm thinking of a completely different creature. Let's cancel that. Let's get our scry on. Those are some big boys. Yep. Sure. I think I'll love Elrond in this. On a creature, where do we want to put this? I think we need to get our Chance About Elves on. I mean, wow, that is just a huge amount of board state he's got going on there. He's going to do a little bit more card selection, but he's taking 7 here. That's a pretty big hit. So it's looking like when this deck has the opportunity to synergize, it does pretty well. They got to play a couple of creatures here, and they don't know we have the impede momentum, so, I mean, they're kind of done here whether they know it or not. Sure. I'm going to play Elrond just for S&Gs. Yeah, they're super done. All right, so there is our 1 win on that, and that was blue-green versus blue-black, and we got the win. Just updating my notes there. So let's take a look at another deck here. Again, I'm going to focus on the ones I predicted to not be great. Next up, I'm going to go with Savage Scavengers. And this is very much what I expected, aside from the previously mentioned Lord of the Rings alchemy cards going on in here. It's just a a black-green graveyard strategy, and it looks pretty darn strong. I've actually heard from some members of my community that Glissa will just win you games. And that's not entirely unexpected. And particularly when you have that mid-game support of Skyfisher Spider and the general mid-range value of a deck like the Rock, this is a better deck than I expected it to be. And it really wouldn't take much to make this more of a contender. I think this is one of those examples where I was right in my prediction as far as what we got here, but the total result is a little unexpected in the fact that it is better than what I thought it was going to be. So let's add in this deck here, and why is it not letting me? Oh, I've got to claim the prize. I forget to do that sometimes. What do we get here? A Gix's Command. Very nice. I will definitely take that. And we will go ahead and grab this up right here and submit the deck. And let's take it for a spin. Let's see. if this is actually as good as it looks like. We did see the green-black, and it beat us against the UG deck. So we'll see. Fun times for all. Wow, like 2 tap lands is just really difficult, and nothing until turn 3. That is pretty scary. I am going to play the role of a very new player here that maybe doesn't know that this is a hand that maybe should be thrown back, and I'm looking at these big old powerful creatures here and thinking this is a good thing. So I'm going to keep it and see if we can get away with not doing anything until turn 3. Because it is a rock deck, we should be able to get there. We do have some removal on 3, so if they do play a very problematic creature, like, oh, I don't know, electrostatic infantry, we might can deal with it before it gets completely out of hand. So they are going to spend some resources to pump that up, get some tokens. They're going to hit us for 2, sure thing. I do think the best play we can deal with right now is go ahead and knock that out. The blue-red should not have a lot of ways to resurrect that, typically. Sure. Taking the dose. Ooh, now that is an interesting little deal there. I think I might go with the Gigamole, though, over Glissa. Actually, now that I've said that out loud, even I think that sounds stupid. We're just going to play Glissa here and hope they don't have a removal package for this. Yeah, well, that is how that goes sometimes. Alright, let's develop some board state here as well as some graveyard potential. Okay. And not much hope of blocking there, unfortunately. Do I want to grab 2 permanents? I don't think I do. I think I just want to grab the 1. And of course that one would be Glissa. I mean, I'm almost at a point where I can't play the Gargantuan. Wow. I think this one's gonna be a loss, boys. Do we just lose straight out here? Maybe. I mean, not quite, but I'm not sure we can stabilize at this point, to be honest, and they just have so much board presence. So let's see what we draw here. I don't think... well, that's an interesting card, at least. It doesn't save us, unfortunately. Yep, that is the game. So we're going to mark that down as an L and move on to our second game here with this deck. Hopefully we can get some sort of redeeming value here. Had to take a little agua break there, talking this much. This is going to be a very long stream, I do believe. It typically is when we get these previews. I think last year was almost 2 hours. So you got to stay hydrated or you dehydrate. All right, a little smoother curve there, although I don't love the Haunted Mire. Being my only green source, tempo lands are kind of the doom of these starter decks at times. Diminishing returns could be an interesting deal, but like all my creatures enter tapped, that's problematic. And more, not green. I think I'm going to go Haunted Mire on one, and we'll keep the Cult Conscript for later. Boom. I do think I got to grab the forest here. No block. Thank you very much. Now that's an interesting 4-drop there. I think we will play the forest just since they already know about that. And we'll attempt to get into for 1 here. Try and get a little offense down. And the trigger on that is pretty darn nice, particularly when we have a Ravenous Gigamole in the yard. Feels good. Sure is, yeah. Ooh, the spider, you say? Okay. I mean, obviously he can equip up and continue to put pressure on, but we have a pretty significant board state at this point. He can't necessarily continue to just aggro out. First strike, trample. He's tapped out. Oh, he has double strike. Or no, it was not double strike. Okay, I'm apparently just tripping. let's say goodbye to their one on-field asset, and we will swing for 7 and drop a little bit more onto the field. I mean, if they don't answer here, we pretty much have the board. That is an answer, though. I absolutely will give them that. I think this is absolutely worth pressing. And at this point, I think we drop it like it's hot here. I mean, we can absolutely just block with Death Touch or take the 7. They can really push this up pretty high, though. First Strike and Trample and +1/-1. So, I mean, we're really only looking at like 8 damage on this unless they have a lot in hand to do with it, which is possible. Well, okay. So now we're definitely taking the 8, but to be honest, I was probably going to do that anyway. Still not quite enough to save them, interestingly. And there we go, we secured the win here. Alright, the last deck that tends to be kind of the loser of these groups. Oh wait, we get a prize! What do we get? Simulacrum. I like that. I don't think I had 4 of those, so that's very sweet. But anyway, as I was saying, the last deck that is typically the loser is the Orzhov White-Black. And I did actually predict that this was going to be a Phyrexia-based deck, and I think it's pretty good. Based on the card pool that I've seen in the other decks, there's not a lot of other Phyrexians that we can add in here, but again, this is not necessarily the final build that we're going to see here. Inclusions like Ossification, even the Exarch is pretty good for your general collection here. March Toward Perfection is actually one of the alchemy inclusions that I don't necessarily hate, because this does make this deck so much better in alchemy. In fact, I would probably run a 3rd and 4th copy, particularly for Alchemy Artisan. It's just really devastating. All in all, things like Phyrexian Arena, just really great. Yawgmoth himself is up in there, and the Processor is okay. Grafted Butcher is a phenomenal card for this deck. Really, I think this is pretty close to tier 1. I'm not sure, obviously, exactly what the final version is going to be, but this is one of those decks that should be on your radar. My guess is that we make pretty quick work here of the competition, and we want to submit deck. I'm not sure why it flubs like that sometime, but it's probably me. Let's just be honest, right? Another quick matchup. I always like that when it comes to a midweek Magic. And I mean, I don't love that I only have the one white source, but I think this is keepable. It's going to be a while before I was two spelling anyway. Or do we go there? I think we do. I think that changes our plans. This is just such a potentially powerful card. Like, yeah, sure, I'll add that to my hand. Why not? Another very good card there. I am going to take the turn off and play the Tempo Land, because even if I played the Swamp, I didn't have a 2-drop anyway. Where were you last turn? Well, actually, that wouldn't have mattered. It was the exact same situation. Do I want to say Yawgmoth? I think we do want to go with this. I mean, making him a 4/4 with Death Touch is just very, very good. Who'd have thought? Rare cards are good. You heard it here first. No, you didn't. Y'all know that. Now, I'm pretty sure Archfiend is probably the best thing we could be doing next turn. I mean, alright, thank you for doing that now. Alright. Sure. Alright, so I think we 2-spell here. That gives us a pretty nice board state. Dross may have been the correct play, because that would have allowed me next turn to Caretaker and one of those 2-drops. Wow, he is chunky. I think we're just gonna no blocks here. The fact that that has vigilance is very problematic, though, to be honest. And I mean, really, I can't effectively attack, so we're just gonna have to hold back the team here. I think I'm willing to trade the Dross for the Dust Legion Duelist. And maybe he knew that. I'm not sure. All right, so we got old 6 mana here. That's pretty solid. All right, kicking this feels like the correct play here. And what do I want to give up here? I think maybe the Sleeper himself, honestly. All right, let's do this and transform my Incubator. And let's hit for a lot here, because, you know, math is for blockers. Next turn, dropping Sculpted Perfection and swinging out should just be game. Yep, and they very well knew that. Alright, so 5 games, 3 wins, and 3 decks. Not too bad, particularly since my expectation on those decks were that they were going to be the worst ones. And, well, we're just going to move on. Guys, I am going to darken the screen here for just a second here while we change up our accounts and move in to another one. And let's see here, what is the thing? Actually going into my newest free-to-play account here, which is actually more than 6 months old at this point. Weird how times flow. At this point, I'd really like to talk about the 3 decks that are typically the best here. And to do so, I'm going to start with red-green, because more often than not only is this one of the best decks, it's very often the best deck. And, well, this time I'm not sure I'm feeling it, to be real honest. I mean, Feldon is a nice include at rare, most definitely. Cosmic Hunger is a good removal spell. Colossal Growth fits pretty well here. Epic Confrontation is another one. I haven't played with Samit, but I know he is kind of having an impact on Standard at the moment. And Maze Crusher is pretty good. Now, I expected this to be a very oil counters mattered deck, and it's just not what they did here. The Warmonger is okay, a 3-2 with haste, but it kind of feels like they're trying to go dragons here. And just be big stompy creatures as opposed to lending itself to any of the mechanical archetypes. And from a budget perspective, more often than not, that's a mistake. So I would like to see some changes here. There's not a lot to do with this deck other than just play it how it sits. I mean, Furnace Strider gives you a little bit more oil synergy, but that and the Maze Crusher are really the only oils matters cards here, and I think they would have a better deck overall with different choices. Another issue that I have with this particular choice here is the include of Copperline Gorge, whereas the other decks, as I expected, had the Pain lands in them. And I think mixing the rare land that is being given across different decks kind of creates an obstacle for new players because they're used to their rare land working a certain way. And when you throw 2, or in this year's case, 3 different ones into the mix, you're going to have a little bit of confusion there. Not to say this isn't a perfectly good land. It certainly makes sense from the tempo aspect to have that in there. But then we've got 8, count them, 8 tempo lands in our mana base. So really, what was the point of that? Particularly when you have 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 double pip cards. Wow, that is just a really kind of greedy mana base for a starter deck. So I'm not hugely impressed with this. I think it's tier 2. Again, we don't know what the final outlook is going to be, but this isn't at the bottom, but it's certainly not at the top this year, and that is somewhat disappointing. Did we did not start? Good gracious, I could not get a clean play here. We'll submit deck, and let's take it for a spin. Hopefully we can get a win here fairly easily and not have to just abandon this deck. I don't think it's that bad, but compared to what it could have been, it's a bit of a disappointment. Angelic Annihilation, isn't that one of the 2023 deck names? Samit, so wow, just nothing but tempo. And the opponent goes first. I'm not sure this is playable. I mean, we've got a lot of tricks. We really don't have creatures coming on until turn 3 if we draw the land. And I think having the Mythic in hand is probably not enough. I think even a new player would go, wow, that's a problem. So let's mulligan. This looks a lot better. Not only do we not have tempo lands, we've got a 2 and a 3. So I do want to keep here, and I think we're going to throw back. Do I throw the Furnace Or do we throw... No, I think we throw a forest here. I think that's the correct play. I mean, we definitely have some rush going on here. And they're going to start with a much slower tempo play. So we're going to lead off with our rare and our mythic. So if we can't win here, that definitely spells problems. All right, I kind of like that. They are going to bank on those +1/+1 counter synergies, and they might well be right. We're going to say no blocks here. Take the 4. We're going to drop some hasty here. Just go ahead and knock that out. So I do like the Red Rush haste feel of this, particularly when it triggers that card draw effect. It's definitely pretty nice here. That is just getting big. So we can kick Colossal Growth next turn. That's a thing. Not really something I'm interested in there. We'll say no blocks. Let's just go ahead and play this out here. Just can't quite get to my big boys. I guess we're supposed to be sprouting golems to get there. All right, I think this is worth offering the trade. They're not going to take it, or they are going to take it, rather. Which is interesting, to say the least. So let's just put the damage here. And we'll kick our Sprouting Goblin. And we're going to go grab a forest. That gives us Furnace Strider next turn. Or Warmonger and Colossal Growth. So, I mean, really, we have some potential here. It's just a question of how much can they grow that Beast Caller this turn. And the answer is not quite enough. So we will just chump block there. All right, so I think we Warmonger with haste, and we just Colossal Growth whatever they don't block. Sure. And not quite enough. Bummer. All right, so let's do the tactical thing here. Let's cast this for 3. We'll do the trade there. Because we has hasties. Ooh, that's problematic. Well, no blocks. So just a little too slow, and frankly, that might have been a bit of a misplay on my part. I may not have ramped in the deck quite enough. But let's give it another shot here and maybe apply a little different strategy. Having played the deck and seeing a little bit more of the haste in action, I don't hate it quite as much as I thought I did. I still don't think it's tier 1, but it might be higher up in tier 2 than I would have given it credit for 10 minutes ago. I mean, this isn't great. I don't love this. I am going to try it, though, because I think a new player would keep this. And I mean, we kind of got there on the land, but we kind of didn't. So it's a little disappointing. Now they also are playing pretty slow here, so I think I'm going to pass the turn, and then next turn be able to kick the Sprouting Goblin and maybe get a little higher up into our curve later game. And I need to grab him along, for sure. Yep. That is some solid moves you got going on there. So we're gonna play the mountain, and let's go for broke here. I don't think I want to attack with the goblin. We'll keep him back for blocking purposes. Because that should hold back his tokens. And it looks like we're right there. We'll take 2. Ooh, the terror. He is terrifying. Kaboomy boom. Go ahead and get that down. That could be useful. We'll go ahead and attack for the 3. Try and keep just chipping away here. That Tolarian Terror is just very problematic, to say the least. Sure. The sack land, draw a card thing feels very out of place in this deck. I'm gonna take it. Okay, this should stop some of the bleeding here. Just keep chipping away. Indeed. Boy, that is a lot inbound. So I think we're gonna block there, and I think we block there, and what is that? That is 9. Awesome. So we just have to win. Of course, we do have trample on all of our creatures, so I mean that's a thing. All right, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. We may be able to do this. Do we swing the 2-drop? I mean, it's not going to matter. If they swing back, they swing back. So let's just try and end this here. That's a lot of trample damage. I didn't actually do the math because, you know, math is for blockers. So that's going to be 3, 5, 7, 10. I believe that is 15. Indeed, we got there. All right, so far in game 2, we've been able to pull out every single one of these decks, and that's not terrible. Let's be honest. Let's see here. What do we want to talk about next? Well, let's claim the prize just so we look like a professional streamer, right? Rada's Firebrand. Sure, that's a first on here. I'm really surprised. Oh no, wait, this isn't my primary account anymore. That makes perfect sense. Let's see here. Let's change up the decks here. I think the next thing I want to talk about is Rebel Army. It's well, this is as close to an absolute garbage dump fire as any of these decks, I think. It has the same issue as the blue-green deck in the fact that it's overly alchemy dependent. It is way too focused on the equipments, the rares that are in here. Like this, I think is the best rare, and it's only playable in alchemy. This deck really becomes nearly unplayable outside of alchemy. And I say nearly, and what I really mean to say is I'm almost certain it's unplayable. In fact, this is one I'm not even going to attempt to play. This deck is really, really bad, and if this is even reminiscent to what we get in the final version, this deck is just either going to be unplayable by new players, or it's going to require a complete rebuild. I really think a deck like this, and what I predicted in this, was a red-white tokens go-wide strategy with a little bit of equipment splashed in, but they just went way the wrong damn direction. And I don't think they're hitting on much. So we are actually going to skip playing on this because I don't think the deck has really any redeeming value. And the last deck that is usually at the top of the hill as far as color combinations is green-white. I predicted that this deck was going to be a very heavy +1/+1 counter theme, and clearly it is. I did expect it to have a little bit more of an artifact sub-theme, and they kind of went a little different direction, but all in all, it's right there. Including Ozolith is a great choice. The Botanical Brawlers are great. The Kamis are really great. Clay Champion as the Mythic is pretty much on point. My guess is this deck is, if not in the top 3, it might actually be the #1 deck for the year. Everything in this synergizes. It's all really, really straightforward and very good. Razorverge Thicket, as much as I don't want different rare lands going on in this, giving that tempo land to a deck like this is problematic. So having one that can come into play untapped on that turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, really, really solid choice. And I don't entirely hate it. Unfortunately, most of what we have in here for 1-drops, well, I guess I shouldn't say most. We've got alchemy cards. We've got sorceries and things you don't want to play on turn 1. And then you've got Rotten Tail. I think that 1-drop needs to be reworked a little bit. But that's something for post. Dust Legion Duelist, we saw that in another game. Absolutely fantastic. Sarah's Redeemer, I think this deck doesn't need a curve quite this high, but I could be wrong. And of course, Tatiana's Command, another one, like, wow, 6 mana. I'm not sure that's where this deck wants to be, but we'll see. Little things like that are certainly things you can address and make that part of the rebuild. Even if this, less the alchemy cards, was the final version, I don't think it's bad at all. So let's give it a spin here. I think this might be another one of those quick and simple wins, but very much like we saw with the white-black. But let's see. Let's get in there and see what we can do here. Who do we get matched with? I don't love this. I mean, it does have a 2 into a 3, but I mean, you got a lot of really high stuff here. I'm going to be honest, though. I'm going to keep it because I think a new player probably would. Between a Death Touch to hold down the fort and then Citizen's Arrest, it's probably not an unkeepable hand, to say the least. And I think this is the very same deck. So we have our first mirror match of the day. Now that's pretty interesting. Well, whoops. He's going to hold that as a blocker, even though I don't have an attack. Oh, okay. All right. Fair. Ironically, it might be, well, shit. Are you serious? Wow. Well, they definitely have an equal deck and pretty much a better start. So I'm just going to go ahead and bow out of this game. I don't think we're really learning anything here by watching itself play. Let's just jump into game 2 here and see if we can get this going. All right, Beast Caller's pretty nice, particularly if we could drop something like Kami on 3 or even the Trumpeter. Either of those is pretty darn strong. I don't think Ozolith is where I want to be on turn 2. I may live to regret that, but we'll see. We are going to start off with the Tempo land. That's a nice strong start. All right, Missionary, not terrible. I think we want to go Kami here. And I am going to push the board state. They took it. Okay. They must have some removal in hand. Yep, okay. They should probably attack here, yeah. I mean, that's just not at all helpful, unfortunately. So we'll get in for one here where we can. I think he's going to have to be defensive here. Okay. I can respect that. We're going to say no blocks here. I wish this... Oh, it does actually give a reminder now. I started to say, I wish it did. If you weren't the starting player, so I am. And I think we just pass here, right? Seems good. Counters, doing things. Of course, he is going to have removal. Redeemer feels particularly strong. Alright, well, there goes our ability to play Redeemer. Indeed. Go ahead and knock that nonsense out, and we'll get in here for some damage while we can. Trumpeter coming down next turn feels pretty good. Sure. Indeed. You should be chump blocking here, I do believe. No, he took that? My goodness. Sure. Definitely starting to see that synergy coming together hard. I think we have to hold the line here. Boy, if that had trample, it would just be so much better. I'm going to say no attacks here. Certainly not the best thing we could be doing, but... There goes our chump blocker. That's unfortunate. I do think we still hold back most of the team. Yeah, okay, that's not terrible. Still not great here. Well, that's probably game right there. So I'm a little surprised that this deck didn't do quite as good, but then again, we were matched up against ourselves and what I think might be a superior deck straight up, the white-black. So when you take the number 1, number 2 deck against the number 2, number 3 deck, you're going to get some fuzzy results there, to say the least. I don't necessarily think that was indicative of what the deck can do. And in fact, so much so, I'm gonna break my rule here, and let's go in for a third game and see if we can get a little better idea of what's going on. Of course, if we just get the same sort of matchup, I'm just gonna back out. Let's keep here. Okay, so not any sort of terrible matchup. Clay Champion on 4 could be really quite good, particularly if we're able to keep our mana balanced. Sure. I think we go Brawler. And if they don't deal with Brawler and we drop Clay Champion next turn, it's going to be explosive. Gotta remember to play the Forest, though. Well, they did manage to deal with it. That's a thing. I still think Champion is the way to go here. Wow, that was an impressive hit there. They have definitely tempoed us. All right, I think we kick this. Wow, they are just all over with this, aren't they? They're gonna deny us creatures. I guess we have to deny them creatures too. A 2/3 with Menace. Beast. And yeah, we're gonna attack for 1. In a deck that's all about growing huge, ginormous creatures, we just attacked for 1 on like turn 8. They killed our creature that they had already dealt with. That's pretty awesome. I think we keep Strength of the Coalition in response to removal. I mean, hitting them for a little extra there was not really going to make a difference. And we can't quite kick that this turn, so we are just going to pass. Yep. Two, 3 menace, first strike, trample. Seems good. I'm mostly just looking to get that in the graveyard. If we draw land, we can do something with it. Yeah. So we are staying alive at 1 here. And the trade makes it 3. Hey, look at there. And I mean, we basically just die here, right? We can't do anything. And with the menace, we just die. Yep. So white-green just not performing as well as I would like. That might be pilot error. I certainly expected this deck to do better than it is. All right, but I do think that is enough with that particular deck. From here, well, let's just kind of go in order. Let's talk about Arcane Aggression here, and blue-red for other than the first year of Arena has been somewhat of a lacking starter deck. And, well, this year I think they really knocked it out of the park. Not only do you have a lot of good prowess-style effects going on, just really solid choices like Tolarian Terror, Hadi Jin that goes directly into a meta deck. Third Path Iconoclast, very, very good. I mean, I think this deck is not only playable, I think it might be tier 1 or at the very top of tier 2. I think this slides into that red-white or the red-green slot without too much issue there. And of course the white-black certainly looks pretty strong too. I can't complain too much about this deck other than, you know, random inclusions of alchemy cards that don't make a lot of sense. I think it has a good mix of creatures and spells, although I would like to see more lower spells and, you know, maybe drop out some of this higher stuff. But I don't know, that's just kind of a first response there. Naja the Stormrunner generally isn't very good. I don't know. Let's take it for a spin, see what we think here. Oh, that is not the deck we just talked about. Why did it just randomly change deck? I'm not sure. But let's play it out. Let's see what we get here. Boy, that is not a great opening hand. I think we mulligan that. That is better, to say the least. I might actually throw back a land here. Although Meeting of the Minds is also pretty tempting, but if I can Iconoclast on 2, then Lightning Strike on 3, that gives me a token. I can tap them both to cast Meeting of the Minds. It's not the worst line in the world. We might give that a shot. That is, if our opponent ever comes back. They are no doubt cashing in on the Hot Pockets promotion and getting those Hot Pockets out of the microwave. Hopefully it won't take too long. I think you can cook both in about 3.5 minutes. And since we're about 20 minutes, it feels like, into this game, they should be back any minute. Or at the very least, the rope is going to clean it up for us. Hey, alright, we are going to keep. And I'm going to risk it for the biscuit and throw the island. We're going to open up a tributary. Alright, and this is kind of going to plan. Do I want to throw a card into my library and draw a card? I'm gonna say, well, yeah, let me throw back Gandalf. Okay, direct damage feels okay. All right, let's just try and get crazy here. We're gonna say no attacks. Well, that was not what we wanted there. We're gonna say no blocks. Boy, who'd have thought we'd just draw no land? No need to attack there. Well, this has become absolute absurdity. This is why people don't like alchemy, because it does bullshit like this. No blocks. I mean, this deck definitely does not lack for synergy. That's 9. one should I do? Let's destroy the artifact. Well, luckily, Third Path Iconoclast is not an activated ability, it is a triggered ability. Well, that just doesn't really do anything for us, unfortunately. That's pretty decent. I like that. We will say next. And let's just attack the crap out of them. Oh, I forgot that had first strike. Whoops. I oopsed. Well, that was not the top deck we needed, to say the least. And we lose. Cool. And blocking doesn't really matter here. I tell you, some of the cards from Alchemy really make it hard to judge these decks. Like, I don't think that deck is nearly as good if you take the Alchemy cards out. Let's give it another shot, though, here with the blue-red deck. See what we get. Wow, that is terrible. I mean, if I can draw a land, it would get there. All right, we're gonna do the dumb thing and keep it. Let's just see what happens. Hey, hey! Look at that. We do dumb things and get away with it. So, Ember Coiler on 2 feels pretty strong. Of course, they are double red, so they almost certainly have removal, right? Do we want to discard a card? Yes, I think we do. All right. He's gonna take the chump. This feels, the red-white deck, I should say, it feels like a deck you don't want to not have creatures. It just feels really bad, honestly. Do we want to discard a card? I kind of feel like I have to. Let's go with the shark here. No attacks for us. Alright, well, I still get to make things. We're going to say no blocks. I mean, a 4/4 first strike solves a lot of problems. We're going to decline that this time. But we are not going to attack here. Hover wings, sure. No block. Alright, I think we pass here. Sure. Sure, I'm willing to make that trade. It does not stop a 4-2 flying first strike trample. Such a problem. Wow. That is having the right card at the right time for sure. That having the Rebel Salvo in the new player experience might really have an impact on the mono blue control deck. We unfortunately do not have a wizard. Now, which is the correct choice here? I mean, do I take out the one with trample, or do I just let the first striker deal with that? I think we make them pay for all the equipments. Oh wait, he can just give it flying. So yeah, we lose. As long as he sees the line. Oh man, they're just gonna Rebel Salvo anyway. So yeah, we just lose. Alright, so I think that's enough with blue-red. I think it has a huge amount of potential, but the swingy issues of alchemy here, I think, are showing their hand a little bit more on the mid-range decks. More so than they do on the lower tier stuff. I think the lower tier decks, unfortunately, can't even be saved by the alchemy. And speaking of what I think is ultimately a lower tier deck, let's take a look at Grave Secrets here. Blue Black was one of those that I said there was so many different directions they could go with, and well, unfortunately, they just really didn't take any of them here. I think the best thing they could have done was make this a draw 2. And I'm just not feeling like they did it. The inclusion of Rusko the Clockmaker in part of the new player experience would be an absolute slap in the face to anyone who wants to play Brawl. Putting this in everyone's hands to play Historic Brawl is just absolutely ludicrous, and I hope whoever made that decision, if this is what goes through, has a horrible, you know what, I'm not even going to say that, but let's just say I don't think very positively of it. This is another one of those decks, like, I can't even see the play lines here, so I'm not going to play it. If the deck just doesn't make sense to me, I'm not. Next up, that would bring the blue-white deck here, and this is one that I once again said there was a lot of different ways they could go here. They could do soldiers, they could do knights, they could do flyers, and really they ended up doing a little bit of the two, which was kind of what I expected. The blue-white soldiers and flyers build is kind of what we get here. Although it's not particularly strong in the flyers, but that's kind of what you expect. Inclusion of things like Mirel is absolutely awesome. Siege Veteran is another absolutely ridiculous choice. Valiant Veteran, really, really good. Resolute Reinforcements. Only 2 lay down arms, but I mean, hey, you can't expect them to give us a complete playset. I get it. including Rescue Retriever, a card that was only supposed to be available if you bought the Mastery Pass as part of the new player experience, is again a little bit of a slap in the face to people who did buy the Mastery Pass because, well, everybody else now gets a copy of that card even though they didn't spend wild cards, etc., etc. Elspeth's Command is another card that does really well in here, but it's alchemy, so it is what it is. And Harbin, Vanguard Aviator, is kind of what gives this the skies. Fortified Beach as the inclusion of the rare land. This kind of touches on that mixing of the rare dual lands once again, and the fact that this is really only playable in Soldiers is kind of a disadvantage to anyone who wanted to build a different blue-white deck, because you didn't give them a dual land that's useful in that, at least not at the rare slot. I think we saw Patchwork Resolute as just a ridiculous card in this deck. So I hate to say this because it has been an absolute death knell pretty much every time I've said it, but this should be one of the better decks. And let's see if we can make some quick work of what's going on here. I mean, Recruitment Officer is not a terrible way to start off. I don't love the double prison sentence and nothing until 4. I do think I'm going to try and keep it and see if we can draw out of it. And believe me, that's terrible advice. And of course we win. I'm not even going to count that because our opponent just scooped. But I will take the rewards. That is definitely a thing I'm willing to do. And what was my reward here? Let's see. Sun Gold Sentinel and a first on this particular account. That's pretty cool. What I am going to do now, just to change things up a little bit, I am going to switch accounts here into what I lovingly refer to as my giveaway account. That is correct. You heard that right. I am going to give away an entire account once my YouTube channel hits 1,000 subscribers, and we're really very close on that. Hopefully within the next month or so. We're only like 40, 50 subs short on that. So if you're not familiar with the channel, if you haven't subscribed, definitely head on over there, and you might be the winner of this here account right here. And there's lots of good stuff on it. I've been developing this as a free-to-play account for a little over a year now. Blue red, hey, look at that. And that is not the deck we're playing. Haha, just kidding. So I might have to come back in here and touch this up a little bit. But we are going to navigate properly and get to the plays. We will start, and we were on the Soldiers deck. Let's take it for a spin, see how it does for us. I mean, that's not terrible, especially when I could take turn 2 off to play Beachfront, and then follow up with Siege Veteran. I think that's keepable. Of course, we could play Zephyr Sentinel at EOT on 2. But I think I might want to keep this as a combat trick, to be honest. Sure. So yeah, we'll take turn 2 off here. Okay, interesting. Alright, I'm going to push what board advantage we have and maybe live to regret it. Let's see. And no, we get to do fun things. Sure. I can't say I'm surprised by that. I mean, in a deck with so much removal, that was absolutely the correct play. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Let's just clean up a little bit here. We are gonna submit 0 there. Okay, I don't hate that. They got a lot of catching up to do here. Of course, this deck is made of removal. Sure, there it is. Yep. Not sure why they let the flyer be the one to live. Ooh, that feels pretty darn good. We will take that. Thank you. Good gracious, they are just made of removal. But that's alright. The more removal they use now, the less they will have for this bad boy right here. And they're pretty much tapped out, so they might just have straight up removal for it. We're gonna do something insane. Let's act like we don't know it has flash. That was a thing of beauty. That might be the best play I've made all day. Yeah, okay. They are definitely getting back some board state here, though. Ooh, that's not really what you wanted to see either. Wow, and we are just gonna draw lands apparently. He's raggedy, that's for sure. The mad monkey. Keep chipping away here, see if we can actually do enough damage to make this worthwhile. I mean, he can certainly block the ground pounders. There's very little question about that. So I think they're just going to inbound here with a full-on attack of everything they can possibly do. What is that? 9, 12, 14, 16, 18, 23, and they scoop. Okay, so like all we had to do was block something and we were going to be fine. So even against a very clogged board state, it did definitely find a way to get there. And that is a nice thing. What do we get as a prize here? Let's see. Sanguine Spy. Yeah, that's a card I don't care about, and obviously it's a first on this. This account did kind of miss out on that particular set just a little bit, but not terribly so. Let's take a look back here at the decks. What haven't we talked about yet? Oh, Scrapyard Sacrifice. This is one of those in my prediction video over on YouTube. I talked about this being a deck that was going to be Rakdos Sacrifice, and obviously it is. That what made this so successful last year was a strong artifact subtype, and I think we got the same thing here. We certainly got some powerful cards here like Rankle and Torbrand, Mishra claimed by Gix, and Ashnod up in here as well. I'm going to be honest, this isn't my style of deck to play. It's really not. But inclusions like Phyrexian Dragon Engine make it very, very powerful. And we've got the good old Sulphur Springs in here as well, which is exactly what I like to see. All in all, I think this is a very good deck. It's either going to be Tier 1 or top of Tier 2, depending upon how the final things shake out. But a very, very strong deck. And folks, before you go, make sure you've subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on a thing. Because I know I can't change the Magic economy all by myself, but I think we can.